On Halloween, you expect the person knocking on your door to be in a costume. It's all part of the fun. But what happens when they're not? What if the real monster, the real danger, isn't make-believe? Well, tonight, we're going to dive into some true stories of Halloween nights that went horribly, terrifyingly wrong.
I mean, think about it for a second. That creepy figure on your neighbor's lawn that's been standing perfectly still all night. Are you absolutely sure it's just a decoration? Or that car that's been idling at the end of the street. Are you positive they're just waiting for their kids to finish trick-or-treating?
Because for the people in the stories we're about to tell, that comforting line between a fun little scare and genuine, life-altering terror, it was completely erased. These are real accounts from people who found out the scariest thing on Halloween isn't a ghost or a ghoul. It's another person. So let's get into it.
We're going to start in that place of pure psychological fear. The threats you can't quite see, but you can feel deep in your gut. The ones that prey on your mind when you feel the most vulnerable.
Okay, so picture this. A 14-year-old kid is home alone, just handing out candy. The phone rings. It's a number he doesn't recognize. He picks it up and just click. Dead air. Annoying, right? Probably a wrong number. But then, a few minutes later, it rings again. This time he hears something. It's not a voice, just the faint, slow, heavy sound of someone breathing into the phone. He figures it's just his buddy Steven pulling a dumb prank. But then, it rings a third time.
That's the message he hears, a low, disguised voice. He slams the phone down, and just then, the entire house goes dark. Suddenly, there's this frantic pounding on the front door. He's completely terrified until he hears his friend Steven yelling his name. Now, Steven admits, yeah, he made the first 2 calls, but he swears on his life he never actually said a word. And here's the kicker. When they go outside to check the fuse box, all the wires have been cleanly snipped. Someone else was out there, listening.
So a voice on the phone, that's one kind of unseen threat. You can understand it, even if it's terrifying. But what about a threat you can't hear, you can't reason with, one you can't even prove was really there?
So this family is spending their very first Halloween in a new house. In the middle of the night, one of the kids is woken up by this loud, rhythmic banging on his parents' bedroom door down the hall. He creeps out to take a look, but there's nobody there. Nothing. A little later, he's jolted awake again, but this time, it's his own bedroom door creaking open. A shadow stretches across the floor, and this 7-foot-tall figure just materializes next to his bed. He screams his head off. His parents burst in, they flip on the lights, and the room is completely empty. But what happens when that unseen threat finally decides to step out of the shadows? When the fear isn't just in your head anymore, but it's standing 10 feet behind you, and it's getting closer.
Imagine you're a kid again. Your pillowcase is getting heavy with candy. You're walking with your friends down a dark street, and you pass a man in a blank white mask holding an old-fashioned lantern. He doesn't move. He doesn't say anything. He just stands there, watching you pass. Creepy, sure, but hey, it's Halloween. Then, at the next block, you see him again, standing by another driveway, just watching. You try to shake him. You take a different street, but when you turn the corner, he's standing in the middle of the road, waiting for you.
That constant, unnerving feeling of being watched is terrifying enough. But for this next group of friends, the horror followed them home, and it started at a place that's supposed to be nothing but fake scares.
So they just left a haunted maze when they noticed him, this tall guy in a bloody pig mask. He starts following them. They walk, he walks. They start walking a little faster, so does he. It's like a terrifying game of mirror. He does this for 5 whole blocks, all the way to their friend's house. He even follows them right through the backyard gate. The whole thing only stopped when the friend's dad came storming outside with a pistol and screamed at him to get lost. Later, when they called the haunted house to complain, the manager was totally confused. He said, "Nobody dressed in a pig mask has worked here all night."
And that brings us to the ultimate violation of safety. I mean, forget the shadows on the street. What happens when the monsters are already inside your house?
All right, so a guy is home alone on Halloween night. It's late, like 11 o'clock, and he hears a knock at his front door. He just ignores it. Then the knocking turns into pounding. He figures it's just some teenagers messing around, so he cranks up the TV, determined to just wait them out, even as the banging on his door keeps going, for over half an hour straight. So he eventually drifts off to sleep, but at 2 in the morning, the knocking starts again. And this is when this cold dread just washes over him, because he realizes the sound isn't distant anymore.
It's not coming from the front of the house. It's coming from right outside his bedroom door.
It's that same heart-stopping dread that this father felt when his 7-year-old daughter insisted someone was hiding in her closet. So, trying to be the calm parent, he walks her back to her room, stands right in front of the closet door, and he says with a little smile, "Is anybody in there?" And from the other side of that door, he hears it, a soft but unmistakable thud.
He yanks the door open and finds 2 teenage boys from the neighborhood hiding inside. He throws them out, he calls the police, and that's that. But it's the next morning when he understands the real horror of it. While he's cleaning her room, he finds a small, freshly drilled hole in the closet door, positioned at the perfect eye level to watch his daughter's bed.
And finally, we get to those moments where the threat is no longer psychological, it's not ambiguous, it is immediate, it is violent, and the only thing you can do is try to survive the night.
2 11-year-old friends are just walking home when a black Jeep screeches to a halt, completely blocking their path. 3 men inside try to get them to come over. The kids, terrified, just bolt. The Jeep swerves up onto the sidewalk right behind them, tires squealing, chasing them down the block. The passenger door flies open, and a man actually lunges out, grabbing for their costumes as they sprint towards the nearest house, just pounding on the door and screaming for help.
But this final story, it's the most tragic. Nick's annual Halloween party is packed. Music is blasting, everyone's having a great time, and then 2 loud bangs from downstairs just cut through everything. The music stops, and then the screaming starts. 4 men in masks storm the house with guns, taking everyone hostage. In all the chaos, our narrator and a few others manage to slip into an upstairs bedroom, hiding in the dark, just listening in complete silence as the horror unfolds below. Hiding under the bed, the narrator sees the bedroom door swing open. A pair of black boots walks in. The person moves across the room, straight towards the closet where 2 of their other friends are hiding. He finds the host, Nick, forces him downstairs, and thankfully leaves the room, somehow never noticing the others huddled in the darkness just feet away. After what feels like an eternity, they hear cars speeding away, and then silence. When they finally feel safe enough to come out, they find 2 of their friends, Jen and Robbie, had been shot and killed.
The trauma of that night, it never left the people who survived. The host, Nick, was just consumed by guilt. He fell into a deep, deep depression, and less than a year later, he died of a drug overdose. He became the 3rd victim of one horrific Halloween night.
These stories, they remind us that the real world can be so much more terrifying than any myth or monster we can dream up. So the next time you're out on Halloween and you see a figure standing just a little too still in the shadows, you really have to ask yourself, is this all part of the show? Or is the show about to become my reality?